There's something different about you. Not better, not worse, just different. The way you handle silence doesn't make most people uncomfortable. It makes you comfortable. The way you solve problems without needing an app. The way noise bothers you in ways you can't fully explain. You didn't choose any of this. It was built into you as quietly, slowly, by a decade that no one talks about enough. If you grew up in the 1970s, you already know what it felt like to be alone without being lonely. No screens, no notifications, no one texting to check where you were. You went outside, you came back when it got dark. That was the whole arrangement. But here's what nobody told you. That environment didn't just fill your childhood, it shaped your brain. And the traits it gave you, they don't always fit cleanly into the world you live in now. You notice that you think before you speak, while everyone else seems to react instantly. You feel overstimulated in places others find exciting. You sometimes feel like an observer, watching life rather than performing it. You're patient in ways that confuse younger people. And sometimes you feel slightly out of place, like you're tuned to a frequency no one else is broadcasting anymore. This isn't nostalgia. This isn't bitterness. It's a genuine psychological gap between how your mind was formed and the environment it now has to navigate. You are not outdated. You are not stuck in the past. What you are is differently calibrated. Developmental psychologists call the years between birth and age 12 a critical period, a window where the brain is most sensitive to environmental input. The world you absorbed during that window wasn't loud. It was patient, analog, built on waiting. And the brain you developed reflects that completely. What looks like difficulty adapting to modern chaos is actually evidence of deep neural wiring built for focus, reflection, and long-form thinking. The traits that sometimes make you feel misaligned, they are also the traits that make you irreplaceable in a world drowning in shallow thinking. Here's what happened inside your mind, and why it still matters today. The brain develops through a process called experience-dependent plasticity. Simply put, the experiences you repeat most in childhood build the strongest neural pathways. In the 1970s, those repeated experiences were boredom, independence, delayed gratification, and face-to-face communication. Think of it like this. Imagine your brain is a city. The roads that got used most became highways. The roads that were never built stayed as fields. Your highways were built for patience, observation, and internal problem solving. Modern digital brains are built for speed, stimulation, and constant external input. Neither is superior, but they are genuinely different operating systems. There's also a concept in neuroscience called default mode network activation, the mental state that turns on when you're not focused on any task. In people with high internal processing habits, which you likely developed by spending long unstructured hours as a child, this network is more richly connected. This is why you think deeply, why you revisit conversations long after they end, why your best ideas come not from effort, but from stillness. It is not overthinking. It is a more sophisticated internal processing style, trained by a decade that gave you room to think. So now the question becomes, how do you use these traits in a world that wasn't designed for them? Here are 5 principles, each grounded in what we know about how your brain actually works. 1. To protect your processing time. What to do? Build unstructured, screen-free time into your daily routine, even 20 minutes. Why it works? Your default mode network, the seat of your deepest thinking, it only activates fully when external stimulation is removed. You are not being unproductive. You are running your most powerful cognitive software. Real-life example. The next time you feel guilty for sitting quietly with your coffee, before checking your phone, don't stop. That is your brain doing its most important work. 2. Trust slow judgment. What to do? Stop apologizing for not having an instant opinion. Why it works? Research in cognitive psychology shows that System 2 thinking, the slow, deliberate, analytical mode, produces more accurate judgments than fast, reactive responses. You were trained by an environment that rewarded waiting. That is neurological precision, not hesitation. Real-life example. When someone asks for your take in a meeting, and you say, "Let me think about that." That is not weakness. That is your brain honoring how it actually processes best. 3. Use boredom as a tool. What to do? When facing a creative or emotional problem, deliberately understimulate yourself. Why it works? Studies on insight and creativity consistently show that the brain solves complex problems during low stimulation states, not during distraction. The 1970s? Child in you already knows how to do this intuitively. You just forgot you were allowed to. Real-life example. Go for a walk without earphones. Take a long shower without planning the next task. Let the problem sit in the background. The answer will surface. 4. Reclaim face-to-face depth. What to do? Prioritize longer, deeper conversations over frequent shallow digital contact. Why it works? Your early relational wiring was built through in-person attunement, reading faces, tone, silence, and body language. Psychologist John Cacioppo's research on loneliness found that quality of connection, not quantity, predicts emotional well-being. You weren't built for 100 surface-level interactions. You were built for 10 meaningful ones. Real-life example. The conversation you had last week with one old friend probably did more for your nervous system than a month of text threads. 5. Reframe your sensitivity as signal. What to do? Stop interpreting your sensitivity to noise, chaos, or social overwhelm as weakness. Why it works? Sensory processing sensitivity studied extensively by psychologist Elaine Aron affects roughly 20% of the population and is strongly associated with deeper cognitive processing and greater empathy. You don't need to toughen up. You need to manage your environment more intentionally. Real-life example. Leaving a loud gathering early is not antisocial. It is your nervous system communicating a real physiological need. Honoring it makes you more, not less functional. Here is the mental model to carry with you. You are a long-format mind in a short-format world. Not every platform, not every conversation, not every environment was designed for the way you think. But the most important problems in relationships, in work, in life, are not solved by speed. They are solved by depth. The world built you slowly without rushing, and it gave you something quietly rare. The ability to sit with complexity until it becomes clarity. That is not a relic of a different era. That is a cognitive gift, earned the long way. You didn't choose the decade you were born into, but the mind it gave you, that part is yours. The patience, the depth, the ability to be alone without falling apart. The way you still remember how silence sounds. The world is very loud right now, and the people who know how to go quiet, who can think past the noise, past the reaction, past the performance, those people matter more than they're given credit for. You were trained for exactly this moment. You just might not have recognized it yet.